Do you have those days where you want a do-over, where you want to try again because you really screwed it up and you know you made that mistake, but you don't know if you have that chance to like really do it over again and try again? But I'm telling you, you do, because we always have that chance because that occurs in our consciousness. And it's something that we always do throughout our lives because we have to figure out who we are and start to live the lives that we were meant to have. But the world does that as well. That means that the world changes in its consciousness just as you do. And you happen to exist at a time in our world where you're meant to live this really great life and to thrive. And that happens when you decide that you're going to raise your consciousness to understand who you are, why you're on the earth, and what you came to offer, because we all have something. But at times it takes time for us to accept that because it's always ongoing. Our authentic self is something that's always outside of us. And so we have to decide if we're going to accept it. And if we do, then we live this great life. Because what you discover is that no one has any more than you. No one has was born with any greater gift than you or any of that. It's just you have to decide that you're going to move through your restrictions and limitations, which are genetic, which are generational, which have always been with you. And then when you do that, you live this really great life and you kind of heal and you become happy. And then you let go of all the judgment of yourself and others and you live in this really great world. And that will sound like it's completely ridiculous, except I know that it's true because I was given that information and I've also lived it. But also, what I'm doing is I'm going to be talking about it a lot more tomorrow because I am doing an interview, which I will show you. It's going to be on Coast to Coast AM. And it's going to be on Tuesday. Well, it's on the 9th of October, but it's going to be 12 a.m. midnight to 2 a.m., which is the time that I will be on. And it will go to probably a million, several million people might hear this. So I thought I would tell you today because you have the greatest opportunity in front of you right now to create this magnificent life. Now, it will look different outside because not enough people are understanding who they are or have decided that they're going to raise their consciousness and decide to love themselves. But you might decide to do that. And if you do it, then the world changes. Because, see, we all we collectively create the world. No one person is doing it. And we do that over time, over civilizations. That's what happens. But anyway, I want you to see this because please go, you can find the link and so you can listen to it. And again, I think that what happens is they record them and they will be available after that as well if you can't be there. And this is where it is. It's coasttocoastam.com. And the first person will be Mitch Horowitz, who will be speaking before. And then I will come on and I'm going to be talking about how we can explore the profound changes in our lives and engage our personal and mindset development skills. He'll address the energetic and spiritual transformation happening on a global scale and how individuals can navigate these changes. And you will wonder, well, why do I know that? Because since 1989, when I first received my first message from Wilhelm, I was given a philosophy, and that philosophy was help to change our consciousness of the individual, meaning you, so that you can live the greatest life that you could possibly imagine and then give that back to the world. But we all hide from ourselves. I've done that. That's why I said I was the reluctant mystic and all of that for several different reasons. But the main one is I received information beforehand, and I know that it's challenging. It was challenging for me to accept it, probably as it would be for you, even if you have read Wilhelm or come to the channeling sessions or had a private session with me, because I am accessing cosmic guidance, so it's different. And it's challenging for us to accept that and also to accept who we are. We're pure consciousness, all of us. We just happen to have formed different ideas about that that have been passed on from generation to generation. But when we live, we're meant to up level that, uplift ourselves and also the world. But now what I'm going to do is read to you a message I received on this day. I've done this several days. If you go to anyadvicefortoday.com, you will see there's several messages there where the messages are repeated over several years on the same date. Now, That is a synchronicity that my Wilhelm has pointed out because they want us all to understand that we have it. It's when they're within our soul. It has nothing to do with your physical body, why you have a soul that has always existed and evolving. That's not something everyone will accept. However, Wilhelm is very clever, and they just kept it in this lifetime so that you would understand the message they wanted you to see for today. And I know it was today because it's a Monday. Now, that may not make any sense because I didn't understand it either, except it's always a line. There's an alignment in the universe, and you have it. That's why you were born. It was your genetic code. It's also why they told me, Wilhelm, that all the messages they gave me, and especially the ones in 2012, that I had information for every person's birthday. I didn't believe that until I started seeing it, until I started having these private sessions with people, and I could see what their progression was throughout time over various years. And so when you hear this message today, you will understand why, and you'll understand why I was also that reluctant mystic, but none of us can be that anymore. We're at a time of great change. And so the information I was given was about uplifting this planet, and that is getting rid of all the old generational beliefs of restrictions, of doubt, and judgment, and hatred, and misogyny, and racism, all those things, because they're all of a lower vibration. And so when we think about energy, we will know the choices that we can make. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about on the show on the 9th, but also when I go back to Gaia for the channeling conference on the 19th. That's the global one because I'm bringing information for our globe. It's not happening just in one place. We're having a transition of our world, and it becomes really successful when you decide to love yourself. That's why you were born. You were born, no matter what you have moved through or experienced in your life, that was valuable. Your life was valuable to be on the planet now. And the more of us who recognize that and start to live it, then we have this very different world. But this is the message that you should hear today, and you will love it, and it'll make more sense to you. And please check out everything on my site, on my website, and also on Any Advice for Today. You can subscribe there, but and also my YouTube channel because I'll be putting up much more. Please watch the episode of Beyond Belief with George Nuri that's already released and attend a channeling session. So there's many, and I have a couple of other interviews that will be released soon because I just want to give as much information as I possibly can so you understand how vital and important you are to be on the planet at this time. And here's that message. October 7th, 2020. You will do it better this time. Yes, we mean you personally, your world as a whole, and the United States. We keep referring to the restructuring, for it is what you each wanted to accomplish, for it is the same as evolving. Now, the specific restructuring we are speaking on in this message is about you. Roger resisted receiving this message as he knew we were sending him quite a bit, and he, like you, continually doubts his ability. Still, again, you will discover that is an entirely necessary part of the process, and without it, you would not evolve, and neither would the world. We know it is challenging to accept our idea of your many lives, so we will use references from this lifetime to illustrate the point. We say this differently now. Roger has agreed to be used. Rogers continually run from what he intuitively felt he was to do in this life, as you have done. The reason you each have done this is due to fear. We have spoken of this often, but the ironic thing is the fear is the thing that prevents you from noticing what you're doing. We kept referring to the law of attraction and cause and effect to make our point, but we will stay in this lifetime. Yesterday, we led Roger to an article that spoke on the pandemic of 1918 and how the President of the United States responded in ways as the current president. However, it wasn't only the leaders, but it was the citizens. They responded in the same manner many are now, but for different reasons. If you each were to study that period, you might better understand and accept this one. Humanity created the pandemic. Yes, we know that may sound shocking until you apply it to your life. You each feel in your own way an urge to change, evolve, or find some meaning in your life. You don't you don't do so because of fear. Today, Roger felt his anxiety about his upcoming webinar. It is not the fear that this time, but more excitement. But even with that, he is unsure. We will leave with this. We told Roger to find an article we coincidentally had him write a few years ago in anticipation of this time. It proved we have always guided him, as your guides have done, for you. We will leave the link at the end. You might come to believe a bit more. You are not living accidental lives. Now, the reason we continually use the United States as the example is that currently you are in a struggle between love and fear, which humans have done for eons. And each time, love comes out on top, or you would not be here. More later, but you will be fine. The article. Everyone is seeking the same thing. If you come to understand and accept this message, it might save you decades of strife, disappointment, unhappiness, and not getting what you want in your life. While it took me decades to finally understand this and come to the realization of it, it doesn't need to be the same for you. A series of events brought this awareness to me and in a compelling way. I now had the opportunity to notice specific patterns repeating themselves in my life. Now I know that when that occurs, there is something there for me to gain, something for me to learn, something for me to understand that I have not gotten yet. Otherwise, it wouldn't keep showing up. Now, this took decades for me to realize. I came to this understanding through a review of my relationships. Anyone can do this using whatever experiences, circumstances, or people they might have in their lives if they're able to examine what is there and ask the questions that are pertinent to what they want to understand. And that question is, what am I trying to gain here? So, as I examine each relationship that I have had over the decades, I noticed a continuing pattern, even though the connections were with different people. The theme I began to see first was my insecurities in every relationship. What was I trying to gain? What was I trying to fill? Or what did I feel was missing? The pattern would also become evident when the relationships would end. And even though they were difficult, I would experience a sense of loss from those endings. Why would I want to stay in something that was uncomfortable? Why would I continue to attract the same similarities in different relationships? Now, with these fundamental questions and then recognizing this is indeed my life, what am I personally seeking to find? Then, what seemed like an epiphany for me occurred. During the last relationship, I reached a place where I thought this is no longer working for me or serving my purposes, so maybe I should end it. Now, in the past, that would have been a very uncomfortable position for me to take. This time it felt right, completely okay, and I didn't feel some impending loss. I sat with this feeling for a while and asked myself, why did this occur now? The answer that came to me and what I discovered was the one thing that I and everyone else have been seeking, and it is the only thing that ever prevents me from having everything I want or from being happy, being abundant, or doing whatever I want. That one thing is the full experience of unconditional self love. Now I understand why it was difficult for me to find this answer and why it is the same for so many others. It is because I continually tried to get what I was seeking from other people or situations, and none of that worked. The only one who can provide that to me is me.